Hi everyone, this is Tori and Sarah, and today we're going to be talking about the ankle. We're going to start with range of motion using the goniometer for dorsiflexion and plantar flexion. So, for dorsiflexion and plantar flexion, you're going to start with the fulcrum on the lateral malleolus, and then your immovable arm is going to be aligned with the fibular head, and then your movable arm is going to be parallel to the fifth metatarsal. So you don't want to line it up with the toe because that wouldn't be parallel. So we'll adjust that, and then you can go into dorsiflexion. There you go. And so you make sure that everything is parallel and lined up. And Sarah is at 11 degrees of range of motion for that, which is slightly under the normal range of motion, which is around 20 degrees. And now for plantar flexion, we're going to line it back up, line everything back up, and then you can go down and flex your foot down, and line everything up. And Sarah is right at 60 degrees of plantar flexion, and the normal range of motion for plantar flexion is about 50 degrees.
Hi guys, we're going to be doing range of motion of the ankle while performing inversion and eversion. So around the normal range or average for inversion is about 35 degrees, and for eversion is 15 degrees. So we're going to start off by measuring Tori's range of motion. So to start off, the fulcrum has to be lined up between the medial and lateral malleolus, so right in the middle. Oops, upside down. And the non-movable arm has to be aligned with the tibial crest, right in the middle. And the movable arm has to be aligned with the second metatarsal. Okay, so Tori's going to perform inversion. And she has about 30 degrees, which is right within the normal range or average of 35 degrees. And now we're going to line up all in the same place again and measure eversion. So outwards. Line up again on the second metatarsal. Okay, and she has about 20 degrees, which once again is between the normal range, around 15 degrees.
So now we're going to be doing some manual muscle tests of the ankle, and we're going to start with plantar flexion. So we're going to be starting with the gastrocnemius and the soleus. So you can palpate the gastrocs. And then we're going to be holding and supporting the ankle here at the base, as Sarah is going to be resisting as we push up this way. So go ahead and do that. Good. And so Sarah would score a 5 on that, which means that she can resist the resistance well and move thoroughly through the range of motion.
So now we're going to be doing the manual muscle test for the tibialis posterior, and the patient's going to start in a neutral position, so just make sure to stabilize the calcaneus. And the patient is going to plantar flex and invert, and I am going to dorsiflex the ankle and evert while the patient resists. So, okay. And the patient would score a 5.
So now we're going to be doing a manual muscle test for the fibularis longus and the fibularis brevis. So those two muscles together do dorsiflexion and eversion. And so while I push the patient, or Sarah, into plantar flexion and inversion, she's going to try to resist that. And so she would score a 5 on that.
So now we're going to be doing the manual muscle test for the tibialis anterior. So I'm going to stabilize the calcaneus, and the patient is going to dorsiflex and invert, and I am going to plantar flex and evert. So, and you can go right ahead, Tori. Okay, and the patient would score a 5.
So now we're going to be doing a manual muscle test of the extensor hallucis longus and the brevis. And what those do is extend the big toe. And so I'm going to stabilize the metatarsals, and I'm going to put the big toe into flexion while Sarah tries to resist. So go ahead and try to resist. Awesome. And that would score a 5.
So now we're going to be doing the manual muscle test for the extensor digitorum longus and brevis. And I'm going to stabilize the calcaneus. And I'm going to flex the toes except for the hallucis or the big toe, while the patient tries to extend the toes. So Tori, go on and try to extend. Good. And Tori would score a 5.
So now we're going to be doing the manual muscle test for the flexor digitorum, which flexes the toes. So we're going to be trying to push the toes into extension while Sarah resists. So, awesome. And that would score a 5.
So now we're going to be doing the manual muscle test for the flexor hallucis longus. So I'm going to stabilize the patient's calcaneus, and I am going to extend the patient's big toe or the hallucis while the patient applies resistance. So, good. And the patient would score a grade 5.
So now we're going to do the manual muscle test for the abductor hallucis, and that abducts the big toe. And so we're going to stabilize the calcaneus, and then as we try to adduct the toe, the patient is going to resist and try to abduct. So go ahead and resist. Awesome. And that would score a 5. So a common ankle injury is an ankle sprain, which is a stretch or tear of the ligament. And the most common ligament to injure is the anterior talofibular ligament. And this is usually caused playing something like soccer or running on an uneven surface, and it's from a sharp shift in the ankle.